Welcome back to Island Bike Life. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the all-new 2020 Santa Cruz Tallboy. I got this bike from Grant and the fellas down at Calvich Cycles, located in Duncan, here on Vancouver Island. They are one of the premier Santa Cruz dealers in this area, so if you're looking to take this, the High Tower, the Mega Tower, or any of the other great bikes that they have on demo out for a spin, go in and see them, they'll sort you out. I was fortunate enough to be able to bring this bike back to my home trails here in Nanaimo to really get a good sense of it. I had this thing for the better part of a week, and I really have a good idea of what this bike is all about and where its limits are and where it's best suited for. This bike is an all-new revamp of the Tallboy, which was already incredibly versatile and a very successful bike for Santa Cruz. This bike follows the most modern geometry trends of being a little bit longer, a little bit slacker, with a really good pedaling position. It also follows Santa Cruz's new sort of overall scheme for their bikes, which started with their V10 in Bronson a while back, carried over to the Mega Tower, the new High Tower, and now of course the Tallboy with their new very distinctive lower link VPP setup. This bike carries over some other features from bikes like the Mega Tower, which include the ability to move your rear axle forward or backwards up to 10 millimeters through changing out an integrated hanger and axle mount. It does give the owner or the rider the ability to really customize their bike when paired with a very standard high-low shock mount position, which will slacken things out about a half a degree overall. The test bike in question is a size large. According to Santa Cruz's sizing chart, I'm right on the top end of that. And after spending a little bit of time on it, the large felt actually really comfortable. I think I may go with an extra large if I was to pick up one of these for myself as a standalone or a secondary bike. But at 6'1" with the 33-inch inseam, the large did fit quite comfortably. But on a size large, the numbers are pretty good. You're looking at a head tube angle of right around 65.5 degrees with a seat tube angle of 76.2, which did put me in a really good pedaling position. That matched with the overall stack and reach at about 468 millimeters. Made the bike feel fairly roomy. It was a little bit tighter at first than I've been used to, but it didn't take me long to adapt to that. Bottom bracket height is pretty low at 332 with a pretty good sized wheelbase for a bike in this category at 1211 millimeters. The build on this particular bike is a little bit custom. This bike is Grant's personal bike, so he has changed a few things off, but it would have come as a carbon C-level frame in the S build kit. Right from Santa Cruz, what you're gonna get is a factory grip Fox 34 matched to a factory DPS in the rear. You're gonna have a full SRAM Eagle GX drivetrain that includes the derailleur, the shifter, the cassette, the chain, and the cranks are going to be paired to a SRAM Stilo cranks. The cockpit is going to be full race face and should be paired with the new G2 brakes from SRAM. This particular bike had code R's on it. The wheel set would be a set of race face rims paired to DT370 hubs, which is a good, pretty bomb-proof setup. This particular test bike was running a pair of Ibis 938 rims with very similar Maxxis rubber that would have come with it. It should have a DHR in the rear with a DHF up front. This particular bike ran the new Assegai in the Exo Plus casing. It comes in at least in a size large, 175 millimeter reverb dropper with, of course, the appropriate 1x lever up front. Pretty standard across the board are those not so great touch points that I've found on most Santa Cruzes these days, which include their grips and the WTB saddle. They're just pretty uncomfortable, and if I was to buy one, they would absolutely be the first two things that I would switch before I even took it out for a single ride. So then, really what it comes down to, what is this a bike all about on the trail, and how does it feel? Well, like always, I'm kind of breaking this into a few different categories. And when it came to the climbing, this bike was absolutely no slouch whatsoever. I've had very different experiences with this new lower link VPP in the past. I didn't really much care for it on the Bronson and the Mega Tower, but I thought on the High Tower most recently that it was just excellent. and I was a little bit nervous for such a short travel bike to have this lower link, and I can say that I was absolutely, completely wrong. The climbing on this bike was really quite excellent. It was very supportive and very firm. It wasn't as firm, say, as the Pivot Trail 429, which I've also recently had out. That thing felt like a hardtail completely. This one, not so much, but not so soft that I was wallowing in the trail.
Hey, buddy.
When it came to single track climbing, this thing just tracked up and over everything so wonderfully. It didn't matter if I was in the saddle or standing up to try to rock over some bigger roots or rocks. This thing just gripped, got the power down, no problem at all, got me up and over. And the pedaling position, because of those really excellently put together geometry numbers, was just wonderful. I really wanted the climbing on this bike to be good. It's sort of a light trail, pretty aggressive light trail bike. And in order to really benefit from a bike like this, it has to be really versatile across the board. It can't just be a one-trick pony like a long travel enduro bike or a cross-country race bike. It really needs to be great all the way across. And
Steep fire road climbing is really nice on the Tallboy. Good power transfer, even when wide open. Really nice.
Where I've found in the past that bikes can kind of come up short is in this climbing category. That is not the case with the Tallboy. I absolutely fell in love with the pedaling position and the way this thing climbed, and it was really one of the better bikes that I've been on, at least in the last few years. Where this bike really shined for me though is in the trail riding category. This thing was absolutely just a riot to ride. The pairing, the 130 up front, 120 in the rear, never left me feeling like I didn't have enough travel. That nice lower link on this particular bike, while it was very supportive while pedaling and gave me something to push off of in corners and coming over the trail and pumping through things, when I did get into sort of a more aggressive trail type situations, it never left me feeling like there wasn't enough travel. It was very supportive, and because of that, it made for a very engaging and very fun ride. On the trail, I found the bike was really quite poppy. I set it up very standard across the board with about 20-ish% sag up front and 30 in the rear. My rebound was set pretty fast, but not over the top. And this bike really just shined in the trail riding. Because this bike is so efficient and it is so fun, this bike really is meant for, you know, kind of long days in the saddle, going out and having a ton of fun. But this thing is a great bike that will cover at least 90% of the trails that we have around here, absolutely no problem at all. And it really is just that good. It takes everything that I liked about the old Tallboy in the trail riding category and just dials it up. It's really quite impressive to ride, and it's something you really have to get on to fully experience and understand what I'm trying to say yourself. As for the descending on the new Tallboy, it also didn't let me down. These sort of shorter travel bikes in the past I've found can sometimes leave me feeling like I'm on the edge of disaster at any moment. That is of course a few years ago, before this new trend of a little bit slacker head tube angles that give you a little bit more wiggle room for error, if you will. This thing was a rocket ship going down rowdy trails. It didn't really matter what I took it on. I didn't take it on the craziest stuff that I would take my personal SB 150 on, clearly. But everything that I took it on, it never made me feel like it wasn't ready to take it on, and then even more so after that. Like I already alluded to, the balance on the bike felt really nice for me. I think, especially in the descending, this is where I really wished I had a little bit of a bigger bike, a little bit more reach in that XL sizing. but in the climbing and the trail riding, I never really felt that. It only kind of came into my mind when I got into those more steep or more technical or gnarly type sections of trail that I kind of wish that I had that little bit of a bigger and longer bike for my body size. The bike tracked really well. All of that support that was there on the trail riding and climbing with the rear suspension and the way that was working translated wonderfully over to the descending side of things. It tracked up and over. It was very supportive on drops and jumps and never really felt like it was outgunned no matter what I did to it. And by the end of my time with this bike, I could see me taking this on just about anything that I ride normally, except for the most steepest and rockiest type terrain. I think this bike, at least with my current riding ability, would leave me a little bit out there. But for some people, I think it could do it. It really is just that good when you're descending. So how does this thing look in its comparative category? Well, Santa Cruz is a little bit more expensive than other brands. Clearly, they're a little bit of a boutique brand. For this CS level build, you're going to be paying a little bit more than you will for other brands. For what you get on the CS level build and then progressively higher as you go, it is equitable across brands, and I think there is value there. What you get for your money in Santa Cruz, at least in my experience, the quality of the frame, the build of their bikes as a whole, their warranty process, and their attention to detail, for me, with my money, absolutely justify that sort of $1,000 to $1,500 premium that you're going to pay over some other brands here in Canada. And I would recommend it without any question, if you can afford it. So what are my final thoughts about the all-new Tallboy from Santa Cruz? Well, I absolutely love this bike. I don't want to bring it back to the shop tomorrow, but I have to. If I was in a position where I was going to be buying a second bike to complement my sort of enduro race bike that I intend to be keeping, there's absolutely no doubt that the Santa Cruz Tallboy would be it. It checked off every box that I wanted it to. It climbed wonderfully. It was super fun on trail riding situations. And there was nothing that I descended on that this bike couldn't take, and then some. The price is definitely up there if you're looking for, you know, that XO1, XX1 type build kit, but you're gonna have the value there, at least in my opinion. The build of the bike itself is quite nice. I do like that Santa Cruz has a very familiar look now across their entire line. To the untrained eye, you might not know exactly what you're seeing. The colorways on this Tallboy are really nice, unlike some of the other newer bikes that they have out there with some really strange colors. Both of the colorways on this are nice if that's something that really matters to you. And I do like the versatility with the high and low switch on the shock and the adjustable rear axle. Though in fairness, if it was me and I bought this bike myself, I'd put it in the low, put the axle to the longest setting, and I'd never change it again. So maybe not a benefit. That's up to the buyer to decide.
Oh man. This new Tallboy is just too goddamn good trail riding. Climb's really good for sure. Descending is no problem. But where this thing shines is just going out and having fun on the trail. Responsive. Geometry numbers are just about perfect, I would say. So playful. hands down, my favorite light trail bike on the market today that I've been on. 10 out of 10 in my book. Too goddamn good.
I really hope you like this look at the all-new Tallboy from Santa Cruz. If you want to check this out, like I said, go see Grant and the fellas at Couch and Cycles down in Duncan. They'll sort you out. If you like what I'm doing here, think about hitting the subscribe and the like button. Leave me a comment down below and come and find me on Instagram. And as always, thanks again for watching. Now let's go hit the trails.